Imagine you're rinkside on a chilly January night in 2000, the roar of the crowd vibrating through Montreal's Molson Centre. The ice gleams under bright lights, and the Montreal Canadiens are battling the Philadelphia Flyers in a game pulsing with intensity. Suddenly, a puck rockets off a stick, slicing through the air like a missile. It finds its mark, not the net, but the throat of a young player, Trent McCleary, who crumples to the ice, gasping, fighting for breath. In that frozen moment, a promising hockey career and a man's life hang in the balance. This is the story of Trent McCleary, a small-town kid who chased his NHL dream, only to have it shattered in a split second, leaving behind a tale of courage, sacrifice, and a quiet resilience that still echoes. Settle in, because this one's a heart-wrencher you haven't heard told quite like this. The late 1970s and 1980s represented a peak period of enthusiasm for hockey across Canada, where the sport transcended mere entertainment to become an integral part of cultural identity and daily existence. During this time, the National Hockey League, NHL, underwent significant expansion, increasing its reach and popularity by adding new teams and attracting a broader fan base. Iconic players such as Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux dominated the headlines, consistently breaking records and elevating the game's profile through their exceptional skills and achievements. This era fostered widespread aspiration among young Canadians, with countless children envisioning themselves achieving glory by winning the Stanley Cup, the NHL's prestigious championship trophy. The pervasive hockey fever influenced communities nationwide, embedding the sport into social norms, family traditions, and youth development, making it a symbol of national pride and resilience. Swift Current, a modest prairie town in Saskatchewan with a population of approximately 15,000 residents, exemplified how hockey served as central pulse of community life during this period. Situated in the vast, open landscapes of the Canadian prairies, the town relied on agriculture and local industries, but hockey unified its inhabitants, especially during the harsh winter months. Winters transformed the environment into a natural playground for the sport, with frozen ponds and backyard rinks becoming common venues for informal games. Children, often dressed in second-hand equipment passed down from siblings or neighbors, would spend hours outdoors pursuing pucks, enduring freezing temperatures that numbed their extremities but fueled their passion. This setting not only promoted physical activity, but also built social bonds as hockey events and practices drew families and friends together, reinforcing a sense of belonging in a relatively isolated rural area, known for producing professional talents like Dave "Tiger" Williams, who had risen from similar local roots to NHL success. Trent was born on September 8, 1972, in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, entering a world where hockey wasn't just a game, but a way of life that would shape his destiny. As one of three siblings with an older brother, Scott, and a younger sister, Shannon, he thrived in a tight-knit family where competition and support went hand in hand, forging his relentless spirit from an early age. His father, Ken, worked as a grain elevator operator, toiling in the agricultural heart of the prairies, embodying the blue-collar grit that defined Swift Current. His mother, Leah, a school teacher, brought stability and discipline to the household, nurturing Trent's drive with lessons in perseverance as enduring as the harsh prairie winters. Together, Ken and Leah instilled in their children a work ethic that mirrored the town's unyielding resolve, setting the stage for Trent's journey from frozen ponds to the NHL's bright lights. Growing up in Swift Current, Trent's early years were characterized by the expansive open fields of the prairies, which offered ample space for outdoor activities, and the ubiquitous presence of hockey in everyday life. Informal pickup games were a staple of his childhood, allowing him to develop basic skills in a fun, unstructured setting alongside his brothers and neighborhood friends. These experiences highlighted the sport's role as more than recreation. It was a communal ritual that taught lessons in teamwork, endurance, and enjoyment amid the simplicity of small-town living. Trent's immersion in this environment from a young age laid the groundwork for his lifelong connection to hockey, blending play with the subtle pressures of a community that celebrated athletic achievement and viewed it as a pathway to distinction. At the age of 5, Trent began his formal involvement in hockey by lacing up skates for the first time, marking the start of a dedicated journey in the sport. He practiced stick handling alongside his older brothers on a makeshift backyard rink that their father, Ken, meticulously flooded and maintained each winter, turning their home into a personal training ground despite the frigid conditions. Although Trent was not considered a natural prodigy with innate exceptional talent, his determination and refusal to give up set him apart, even as a small child facing physical challenges. His brother Scott later shared in a scarce interview with a local newspaper that Trent was small, but he'd never quit, emphasizing the tenacity that became a defining trait. This early phase focused on building fundamental skills like skating and puck control, fostering a passion that grew stronger with each session on the ice. By his teenage years, Trent had emerged as a prominent figure in Swift Current's minor hockey leagues, where he competed against peers in organized settings that demanded higher levels of commitment and performance. Known for his impressive speed on the ice and relentless forechecking style, which involved aggressively pursuing opponents to regain possession of the puck, Trent distinguished himself through effort rather than sheer scoring ability. He may not have been the most flamboyant goal scorer, relying instead on consistent hustle and reliability, qualities that endeared him to coaches who valued players willing to put in the extra work. Trent's routine exemplified this dedication. He was invariably the first to arrive at practice sessions and the last to depart, demonstrating a work ethic that mirrored the values instilled by his parents and the demanding nature of prairie life. Trent's major opportunity arrived at age 16 when he joined the Swift Current Broncos, a team in the Western Hockey League, WHL, one of Canada's top junior hockey circuits. This step came just a few years after the devastating 1986 bus crash that claimed the lives of 4 Broncos players, an event that left a profound emotional scar on the team and the entire town, underscoring the risks and fragility inherent in the sport. Despite this backdrop of tragedy, Trent's addition to the roster brought a fresh infusion of energy and resolve as he adapted to the increased intensity and expectations of junior-level competition. His presence contributed to the team's efforts to rebuild and honor the memory of those lost, turning personal and collective grief into motivation on the ice. Trent played a key role in the Swift Current Broncos' triumphant season that culminated in winning the 1989 Memorial Cup, the esteemed championship for junior hockey in Canada. His gritty playing style was instrumental in the team's success, as he approached every shift with maximum intensity, treating each moment on the ice as potentially decisive. Coach Tom McNabb praised this attribute in a statement preserved in WHL archives, noting that Trent played like every shift was his last, which captured the heart and unyielding spirit that defined his contributions. This victory not only marked a high point in Trent's early career, but also served as an early indicator of the profound dedication that would characterize his professional path, even as it hinted at the personal sacrifices and risks that lay ahead in his pursuit of excellence in hockey. Drafted by the Ottawa Senators in 1992, 54th overall, Trent's NHL dream was in reach. But the Senators were a new franchise, struggling in their early years, and Trent spent much of his time bouncing between the big league and their AHL affiliate in Prince Edward Island. At 5'11" and barely 180 pounds, he was undersized for a league of giants, but his work ethic made him a fan favorite. He carved out a role as a checking line winger, think pest, grinder, the guy who'd block shots and fight for every inch. By 1995, he'd played 37 games for Ottawa, scoring his first NHL goal against Chicago, a moment he later called better than Christmas. But trades sent him to Boston in 1996, then Montreal in 1998, where he found a home with the Canadiens, a team steeped in history but hungry for new blood. In 46 games during the 1998-99 season, Trent's relentless energy earned him respect, even if his stat sheet stayed modest with 4 goals and 6 assists. In the 1999-2000 NHL season, the Montreal Canadiens were engaged in a challenging campaign, striving to maintain their relevance in the playoff race amid a competitive Eastern Conference. The team, with a storied history but facing recent inconsistencies, relied on key players to deliver gritty performances in crucial matchups. This period highlighted the high-stakes nature of professional hockey, where every game could influence postseason positioning, and players like Trent were expected to contribute through defensive efforts and physical sacrifices. The The Flyers, known for their tough physical style of play, represented a formidable opponent, setting the stage for intense confrontations that tested players' resilience and commitment. On January 29, 2000, a date that would become indelibly marked in hockey history, the Montreal Canadiens hosted the Philadelphia Flyers at their home arena in a hard-fought regular season game. This matchup embodied the rugged essence of NHL rivalries, with both teams bringing physicality and determination to the ice. For the Canadiens, the game was part of their ongoing battle to secure a playoff spot, requiring maximum effort from the roster to overcome the Flyers' aggressive tactics. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, as fans and players alike recognized the importance of such contests in shaping the season's outcome, underscoring the relentless pressure inherent in professional sports. Late in the first period of the game, Trent demonstrated his characteristic selflessness by diving to block a powerful slap shot unleashed by Philadelphia Flyers defenseman Chris Therien. The shot, estimated to travel at approximately 100 miles per hour, struck Trent directly in the throat, resulting in severe trauma that crushed his larynx and fractured his windpipe. This sudden impact caused immediate and life-threatening damage, highlighting the inherent dangers of blocking shots in hockey, where players often put their bodies on the line to prevent scoring opportunities. The force of the puck not only inflicted physical harm, but also initiated a cascade of physiological responses that endangered Trent's ability to breathe and survive the moment. Following the impact, Trent collapsed onto the ice, desperately clutching his neck as he struggled to draw breath, with blood beginning to accumulate in his throat and exacerbating the obstruction. This harrowing scene prompted panic among his teammates, who witnessed the unfolding crisis in real time and led to a stunned silence from the crowd, transforming the energetic arena into a tense, fearful environment. Goalie Jose Teodor later described the event in interviews with reporters as, like watching a nightmare unfold, capturing the shock and helplessness felt by those present. The incident underscored the fragility of athletes in high-contact sports, where routine plays can escalate into emergencies without warning. In response to Trent's collapse, medical personnel quickly rushed onto the ice to provide urgent care, recognizing the critical nature of his injury. They performed an emergency tracheotomy directly on the rink, a procedure involving an incision into the windpipe to create an alternative airway, allowing Trent to receive oxygen and stabilizing him enough for transport. This on-site intervention was essential in averting immediate fatality, demonstrating the preparedness of NHL medical teams for severe traumas. The decision to act swiftly on the ice reflected the high-risk environment of professional hockey, where delays could prove fatal, and highlighted the blend of medical expertise and quick thinking required in such scenarios. As Trent was transported to the hospital via ambulance, his condition deteriorated further, with his heart stopping twice during the journey, necessitating resuscitation efforts by paramedics to restore his vital signs. Upon reflection, doctors informed him that he had been mere minutes away from death, emphasizing the razor-thin margin between survival and tragedy in cases of severe throat injuries. This phase of the ordeal illustrated the ongoing battle for his life beyond the initial impact, as internal bleeding and airway compromise continued to pose imminent threats, requiring continuous monitoring and intervention en route to ensure he reached medical facilities alive. Trent eventually regained consciousness in the hospital, surrounded by medical equipment including tubes extending from his neck to assist with breathing and recovery. His voice, now reduced to a hoarse rasp due to the damage, served as an immediate reminder of the injury's severity. It was only at this point that he learned the full extent of how close he had come to dying, a revelation that deepened the psychological impact of the event. This awakening marked the transition from acute crisis to the beginning of rehabilitation, forcing Trent to confront not just physical pain, but also the profound changes to his daily life and career prospects, transforming a routine game into a pivotal, life-altering experience. A lesser-known aspect of the event, as detailed in a 2001 feature article from the Montreal Gazette, was Trent's composure amid the chaos. Even as he lay on the ice in a semi-conscious state, he managed to communicate with trainers by pointing to his throat, providing crucial information that expedited their response. This act of signaling, performed under extreme duress, likely played a key role in the timeliness of the medical aid, showcasing Trent's mental fortitude and presence of mind. Such details reveal the subtle layers of heroism in athletic emergencies, where an individual's actions, however small, can influence outcomes significantly. Trent's parents, Ken and Leah, were watching the game from their home in Swift Current via television broadcast, experiencing the horror remotely without immediate updates on his condition. They remained in agonizing uncertainty for hours until a team official contacted them to confirm his survival, amplifying the emotional toll of the incident. The ripple effects extended deeply into the family, with Lynn later confessing that the trauma was so overwhelming she avoided watching hockey games for several months afterward. This family dimension highlighted how sports injuries extend beyond the athlete, affecting loved ones with prolonged stress and fear, and underscoring the interconnected support systems in professional athletes' lives. Trent's recovery involved an extended stay in intensive care, lasting several weeks, during which he underwent multiple surgical procedures aimed at reconstructing his damaged larynx and addressing associated complications. These operations focused on repairing the crushed structures and minimizing long-term impairments, but they came with significant challenges, including pain management and rehabilitation. Physicians ultimately cautioned that a return to professional hockey was unlikely, citing the formation of scar tissue that could impede breathing during physical exertion and the permanent damage to his vocal cords, which left his voice softened and strained indefinitely. This prognosis not only altered his career trajectory, but also forced a reevaluation of his identity as an athlete, emphasizing the enduring consequences of such a severe injury on both body and future aspirations. Forced into retirement at 27, Trent's world unraveled. He returned to Swift Current, a town where hockey was identity, now a former player with no clear path. The NHL offered a small settlement, but money was tight. He took odd jobs, construction, coaching youth teams, while grappling with depression. "You're trained your whole life for one thing, then it's gone," he told a local radio station in 2002, a rare glimpse into his psyche. One untold story, pieced together from teammate accounts, is how Trent quietly mentored kids at the rink, teaching them to block shots safely, turning his pain into lessons. Another hidden gem: he kept a puck from that fateful game, not as a grim reminder, but as a symbol of survival, tucked in a drawer at home. These moments reveal a man rebuilding himself, brick by brick, in a life he never planned. Let's get personal, because Trent's story isn't just stats and headlines. It's human, raw, and deeply relatable. His wife, Lori, who he'd married in 1997, became his rock. In a rare interview with a Saskatchewan paper, she shared how Trent would wake up gasping from nightmares, reliving the injury. Yet, he'd still crack jokes, his raspy laugh filling their small home. He'd say, "Well, at least I went out with a bang," Lori recalled, her voice breaking. Teammates like Brian Savage remembered Trent's locker room pranks, hiding gear, mimicking coaches, showing a playful side that endured despite his quiet post-injury life. A poignant anecdote from his brother Brad: Trent once spent hours helping a shy kid at a hockey camp land his first goal, kneeling on the ice to celebrate like it was the Stanley Cup. "That's who he was, always giving," Brad said. These stories paint a man whose spirit outshone his scars, whose private struggles fueled a quiet strength that touched those around him. Now, let's tackle the messy stuff, the controversies and debates that linger. Trent's injury sparked heated discussions about NHL safety. In 2000, neck guards were optional for skaters, unlike goalkeepers. Some argued Trent's injury was a freak accident, unavoidable in a fast, brutal sport. Others, including player advocates, pushed for mandatory neck protection, citing his case as a wake-up call. The debate rages on. Today, neck guards are still optional in the NHL, though youth leagues often mandate them, partly due to Trent's story. Another point of contention: was the NHL's medical response adequate? Critics noted the league's slow adoption of on-site tracheotomy protocols, despite Trent's near-death experience prompting changes. Then there's the narrative around his retirement. Some saw him as a cautionary tale of hockey's risks, others a hero who sacrificed his body for the team. These perspectives clash, leaving us to wrestle with hockey's balance of tradition and safety. and whether Trent's loss was preventable or just cruel fate. Why does Trent McCleary matter today? His story reshaped hockey's safety conversation, pushing for better equipment and emergency protocols. The NHL now requires rinkside trauma kits, a direct legacy of his injury. Culturally, he's a symbol of the working-class athlete, grinders who don't make headlines but embody the sport's heart. Emotionally, his arc resonates with anyone who's had their life upended, forced to redefine purpose. His quiet return to coaching kids shows resilience isn't always loud. It's in the small, steady acts of giving back. For older viewers, his tale mirrors life's unpredictability. One moment can change everything, yet courage lies in what you do next. Trent's story teaches us to value the unsung heroes, to question systems that glorify risk, and to find meaning in starting over. As we close, picture Trent back in Swift Current, coaching a kid on a frozen pond, his raspy voice calling out tips, a faint smile under the prairie sky. He wasn't a superstar, but he was a fighter, a man who stared down death, lost his dream, and still found a way to give. His life reminds us that heroism isn't just in the spotlight. It's in the quiet rebuild, the choice to keep going when the game ends. Trent McCleary's story is a puck to the heart. Painful, unforgettable, and profoundly human. Thanks for listening, and may his courage inspire you to face your own battles with the same grit.